Hey guys, tonight we're diving into one of humanity's most embarrassing secrets. What people did before toilet paper existed. And trust me, you probably won't survive hearing about some of these methods without squirming in your bed. She walked into the Roman bathhouse for a simple bathroom break and emerged traumatized for life. Why? Because what awaited her wasn't just any cleaning tool. It was a communal sponge that had been intimately shared by dozens of strangers before her, and she was expected to use it with a smile. Picture this: you're a Roman citizen in 50 AD, you've just finished a lavish feast of roasted peacock and honeyed wine, and nature calls. You confidently stride to the public latrine, marble floors gleaming beneath your sandals, the sound of flowing water echoing through the chambers. But as you approach the cleaning station, your confidence evaporates. There, sitting in a bucket of murky salt water, is a sea sponge attached to a wooden stick, the tersorium, and it's still dripping from the previous user. In a couple of minutes, you'll find out how this disgusting practice actually made perfect sense to the Romans. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why our ancestors' hygiene solutions were simultaneously brilliant and absolutely revolting. Here's what makes this even more unsettling. Romans didn't just grab any random sponge. They specifically chose sea sponges because of their natural antibacterial properties. Yet they still shared them in communal buckets like some twisted version of a community water fountain. The wealthy Romans had private versions with silver handles and perfumed cleaning solutions, but the average citizen grabbed whatever sponge was available, gave it a quick swish in the communal bucket, and hoped their ancestors were watching over them. But wait, it gets worse. These public latrines weren't private stalls like we know today. You're sitting shoulder to shoulder with complete strangers on a long marble bench with circular holes, conducting business while discussing politics, trade deals, and the latest gladiator matches. Imagine trying to negotiate the price of olive oil while reaching for that shared sponge, making eye contact with the person who just used it. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment letting me know where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. I love seeing our global community of night owls and history enthusiasts. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in a Roman bathhouse, the marble floors still warm from the hypocaust heating system beneath your feet. The air is thick with steam and the chatter of citizens conducting business while attending to personal matters. Romans treated bathroom visits as social events. Imagine trying to negotiate a business deal while sitting on a communal toilet bench with no dividers, shoulder to shoulder with your neighbors, all while sharing the same cleaning implement. The communal sponge system wasn't born from ignorance, but from practical Roman engineering. These sponges were attached to wooden or metal sticks, making them reusable tools that could be easily cleaned and maintained. The Romans understood that sea sponges had natural antimicrobial properties, and the salt water used for cleaning contained additional antiseptic qualities that helped reduce the spread of disease. What's particularly mind-boggling is the social etiquette surrounding sponge use. There were unwritten rules about how long you could hold the sponge, how thoroughly you should clean it before passing it along, and even which direction to pass it around the communal bench. Breaking these bathroom protocols could result in social ostracism. Imagine being blacklisted from Roman society because you hogged the communal but sponge. Historians still argue whether the shared sponge system was as unsanitary as it sounds to modern sensibilities, given that Romans also pioneered advanced sewage systems and public health measures. Some scholars suggest that the constant flow of fresh water through their latrines, combined with the salt water cleaning solution, may have made this system more hygienic than we initially assume. The wealthy Romans, however, had a completely different bathroom experience. They employed personal slaves whose sole job was to maintain private sponges and ensure they were properly cleaned with vinegar and perfumed oils. These luxury versions were often decorated with silver handles and kept in ornate containers, turning a basic necessity into a status symbol that screamed, "I'm too important to share my bathroom sponge with peasants." You think Roman sponges were bad? Wait until you discover what the ancient Egyptians rubbed all over their bodies as deodorant. And spoiler alert, it came straight from the business end of a crocodile. You're walking through the bustling markets of ancient Memphis, the air thick with incense and spices, when you notice something peculiar. The wealthy merchants and nobles gliding past you smell surprisingly pleasant despite the sweltering desert heat. Their secret? They've smeared crocodile dung mixed with fragrant oils under their arms and across their skin, creating what they considered the ultimate luxury deodorant. The Egyptians didn't stumble upon this practice by accident. They were methodical about their hygiene experiments. Crocodile excrement was prized because these apex predators had diets rich in fish and meat, which the Egyptians believed transferred beneficial properties to their waste. They would collect fresh droppings from sacred crocodile pools, dry them in the desert sun, then grind them into fine powders that could be mixed with oils, honey, and aromatic herbs. But here's where it gets really wild. Crocodile dung wasn't just for deodorant. Egyptian women used it as face masks, believing it would give them the smooth, impenetrable skin of the crocodile itself. They'd apply thick pastes of ground crocodile waste mixed with milk and honey, leaving it on their faces for hours while servants fanned them with palm fronds. Imagine explaining that skincare routine to your modern dermatologist. The process of preparing crocodile dung cosmetics was an art form in itself. Specialized servants, known as dung preparers, would carefully select only the freshest specimens, examining them for color, texture, and smell. The best crocodile waste was considered to be from animals that had been fed a diet of sacred fish from the Nile, and these premium droppings could cost more than a month's wages for an average Egyptian worker. What makes this even more fascinating is that the Egyptians weren't entirely wrong about the benefits. Modern analysis has shown that crocodile dung contains natural antimicrobial compounds that could actually help prevent bacterial growth and reduce body odor. The high mineral content from their fish-heavy diet created a natural antiseptic that, when properly prepared, might have been more effective than simply going without any deodorant at all. Historians still argue whether this practice was limited to the wealthy elite, or if common Egyptians had access to lower-grade crocodile waste for their personal hygiene needs. Some evidence suggests that different social classes used dung from different animals. While the rich got premium crocodile droppings, the middle class might have settled for hippo waste, and the poor made do with domesticated animal excrement. The ritual of applying crocodile dung deodorant was often a communal activity among wealthy Egyptian women. They would gather in private chambers, sharing gossip while servants applied the aromatic paste to their bodies. These dung parties became social events where marriages were arranged, business deals were discussed, and the latest palace intrigue was whispered between applications of reptilian waste. Egyptian priests took this practice to another level entirely, using crocodile dung in religious ceremonies and believing it connected them to Sobek, the crocodile-headed god of fertility and protection. They would burn dried crocodile waste as incense during important rituals, filling temple chambers with smoke that they believed carried their prayers directly to the gods. The preparation wasn't just about grinding and mixing. Egyptian perfumers developed elaborate techniques for aging crocodile dung, storing it in sealed clay vessels for months or even years to develop more complex aromatic profiles. The most prized preparations were aged in underground chambers where the temperature remained constant, allowing the waste to ferment into what they considered olfactory masterpieces. If you thought crocodile dung deodorant was rough, imagine being a medieval European peasant whose bathroom routine involved whatever scratchy, questionable materials you could forage from the forest floor, and praying you didn't accidentally grab poison ivy. You're stumbling through a dark medieval cottage at dawn, your stomach churning from last night's questionable ale and moldy bread. The urgent call of nature drives you toward the primitive latrine behind your hovel, but there's no neat stack of soft leaves waiting for you. Instead, you're faced with a grim reality. Whatever nature provides is what you'll use, and nature in medieval Europe wasn't particularly generous or gentle. Your first option is hay, the same scratchy, coarse material that feeds your livestock. Medieval peasants would gather handfuls of dried grass and hay, often mixed with whatever straw they could spare from their animal bedding. The texture was roughly equivalent to wiping yourself with a handful of tiny needles, but it was abundant and free, which made it the go-to choice for most rural Europeans. But hay was luxury compared to what many peasants actually used on a daily basis. Moss became the toilet paper of choice for millions of medieval Europeans, particularly the soft, absorbent varieties that grew on the north sides of trees and rocks. You'd spend precious daylight hours hunting for the perfect moss patches, competing with neighbors who had the same desperate needs. The best moss was jealously guarded. Families would have secret moss-gathering spots that they'd pass down through generations like valuable real estate. Here's where medieval bathroom habits get truly desperate. When moss and hay weren't available, peasants turned to whatever plant matter they could find. Mullein leaves, known as nature's toilet paper, became prized for their soft, fuzzy texture, but they had to be gathered at exactly the right time of year. Too early, and they were too small; too late, and they became brittle and useless. Medieval families would organize entire expeditions to gather mullein during peak season, drying and storing leaves like precious commodities. The wealthy medieval lords had slightly better options, but not by much. They could afford to use wool, actual sheep's wool that had been cleaned and prepared specifically for bathroom use. Imagine the luxury of wiping yourself with the same material that would eventually become expensive clothing, while your peasant neighbors made do with whatever weeds they could grab without getting arrested for trespassing on noble lands. Historians still argue whether medieval Europeans understood the connection between poor hygiene and disease, but evidence suggests they were more aware than we typically assume. Monastery records show that monks developed elaborate systems for gathering and preparing plant materials for bathroom use, often designating specific brothers to maintain supplies of the softest available leaves and moss. Winter presented the ultimate medieval bathroom nightmare. When snow covered the ground and fresh vegetation disappeared, peasants had to rely on stored materials that had often become moldy, frozen, or infested with insects. Some desperate souls resorted to using strips of cloth torn from old clothing, but fabric was far too valuable to waste on bathroom duties except in the most extreme circumstances. The process of gathering bathroom materials became a survival skill passed down through families. Children learned to identify the softest leaves, the most absorbent moss, and the plants that wouldn't cause painful rashes or infections. Getting this knowledge wrong could result in days of agony, infection, or worse, making bathroom material selection a literally life or death decision. Medieval women faced additional challenges, as they were often responsible for gathering bathroom materials for entire families while also managing household duties, childcare, and agricultural work. They developed sophisticated knowledge of seasonal plant cycles, knowing exactly when and where to find the best natural toilet paper alternatives throughout the year. Remember those medieval Europeans desperately scrounging for moss and hay? Well, while they were suffering through their scratchy bathroom ordeals, the Chinese had already invented something that would revolutionize human hygiene forever, and it happened over 1,000 years before Europeans even knew paper existed. You're standing in the imperial court of the Sui dynasty in 589 AD, watching as palace servants carefully prepare delicate sheets of paper specifically designed for the emperor's personal use. This isn't just any paper, it's the world's first toilet paper, crafted from mulberry bark and rice straw, softer than anything Europeans could imagine, and exclusively reserved for the Chinese imperial family. The invention didn't happen overnight. Chinese papermakers had been perfecting their craft for centuries, originally creating paper for writing, art, and religious ceremonies. But some brilliant court official realized that the same techniques used to make writing paper could be adapted to create something far more practical for daily life. They experimented with different fiber combinations, testing bamboo, hemp, and various plant materials until they achieved the perfect balance of softness, absorbency, and durability. What makes this even more remarkable is the scale of production. By the 14th century, the Chinese were manufacturing toilet paper on an industrial level that wouldn't be matched in the West for another 500 years. The Bureau of Imperial Supplies recorded producing 720,000 sheets of toilet paper annually just for the imperial court. That's nearly 2,000 sheets per day for the royal family's exclusive use. But here's where Chinese toilet paper innovation gets truly impressive. They didn't just make one type. Different grades were produced for different social classes and purposes. The emperor used paper perfumed with jasmine and rose oils, while lower-ranking court officials got plain but still luxuriously soft varieties. The wealthy merchant class could purchase their own toilet paper from specialized shops, though it cost more than most people earned in a week. The manufacturing process was incredibly sophisticated. Chinese artisans would soak plant fibers in lime water for weeks, then beat them into pulp using water-powered hammers. The pulp was spread onto bamboo screens, pressed, and dried in the sun, creating sheets that were then cut to specific sizes depending on their intended use. The imperial toilet paper was even embossed with decorative patterns and the emperor's seal. Historians still argue whether toilet paper was a Chinese invention born from practical necessity, or if it emerged from their advanced paper-making culture as a natural extension of existing technology. What's certain is that Chinese toilet paper remained a closely guarded secret for centuries, with the manufacturing techniques passed down through specialized guilds that treated the knowledge like state secrets. The social implications were enormous. Having access to toilet paper became a status symbol that clearly divided Chinese society into distinct classes. Wealthy families would display their finest toilet paper in ornate dispensers, showing visitors that they could afford to use paper for such mundane purposes. Meanwhile, common people continued using traditional methods like bamboo sticks and cloth strips. Chinese toilet paper even played a role in international diplomacy. When foreign dignitaries visited the imperial court, they were provided with specially prepared toilet paper as a gesture of hospitality and a demonstration of Chinese technological superiority. Many visitors returned to their home countries with stories of this miraculous soft paper, though few believed such luxury could actually exist. The quality control was obsessive. Imperial toilet paper inspectors would examine each sheet for imperfections, ensuring that nothing rough or scratchy could possibly touch the emperor's skin. Rejected sheets were recycled into lower-grade paper for court officials, creating an entire hierarchy of bathroom luxury that reflected the rigid social structure of imperial China. While the Chinese were living in toilet paper luxury, the Vikings were sailing across treacherous seas with their own surprisingly practical bathroom solutions. And trust me, when you're stuck on a long ship for months with 30 unwashed warriors, you get creative fast. You're aboard a Viking longship cutting through the icy waters of the North Atlantic, salt spray stinging your face as you grip the wooden rail. The ship rocks violently, and suddenly nature calls with the urgency that only a diet of fermented fish and sour ale can produce. But there's no privacy, no comfortable facilities, and definitely no Chinese toilet paper. What you do have is a small pouch of carefully prepared sheep's wool and a collection of smooth seashells that might just save your dignity. Viking bathroom practices were born from pure necessity and refined through generations of seafaring experience. Sheep's wool became their premium cleaning material, not the rough, unwashed fleece you might imagine, but carefully processed wool that had been cleaned, combed, and treated with seal oil to make it soft and water-resistant. Viking women would spend hours preparing these wool bundles, knowing that their men's comfort and health during long voyages depended on having proper hygiene materials. The preparation process was almost ritualistic. Before each major voyage, Viking families would gather to prepare bathroom supplies like they were packing for war. The wool had to be cleaned multiple times in hot water, then dried and treated with various oils and herbs. Juniper oil was particularly prized because it had natural antiseptic properties and helped prevent infections, crucial when you're sharing close quarters with dozens of other warriors for months at a time. But wool wasn't their only innovation. Vikings became masters at selecting and preparing seashells for bathroom use. Not just any shells would do. They needed specific types that were smooth, curved just right, and free from sharp edges that could cause injury. Experienced Vikings could identify the perfect bathroom shells by touch alone, and the best specimens were traded like valuable currency among seafaring communities. Here's where Viking ingenuity really shines. They developed portable bathroom kits that were marvels of medieval engineering. Each warrior carried a waterproof pouch containing pre-treated wool, selected shells, and small containers of seal oil for additional cleaning. These kits were designed to last for months at sea while remaining compact enough not to take up precious space on crowded ships. The social dynamics around Viking bathroom practices were fascinating. Despite their reputation as rough warriors, Vikings were surprisingly hygienic and had strict rules about bathroom etiquette aboard ships. There were designated times for personal hygiene, specific areas of the ship that could be used, and even protocols for sharing cleaning materials when supplies ran low. Historians still argue whether Viking bathroom practices were influenced by their interactions with other cultures or if they developed these techniques independently through trial and error during their extensive travels. What's clear is that their methods were effective enough to keep Viking crews healthy during voyages that could last for months across some of the world's most challenging waters. The quality of your bathroom supplies could literally determine your survival on a Viking voyage. Poor quality wool that became waterlogged and useless, or shells that cracked and became sharp, could lead to infections that might kill you long before you reach your destination. Viking leaders understood this, which is why the best bathroom materials were often reserved for the most important crew members. Viking women who stayed behind developed their own sophisticated bathroom practices, often superior to what the men used at sea. They had access to a wider variety of materials, including specially prepared moss, soft leather strips, and even imported fabrics when trade was good. These land-based Vikings created bathroom routines that were surprisingly luxurious compared to their seafaring counterparts. While Vikings were mastering the art of seashell selection, Islamic civilizations were developing something that would make all previous bathroom methods look primitive. A revolutionary approach to cleanliness that used the most abundant resource on Earth, and it was so effective that it's still the gold standard in much of the world today. You're entering a magnificent hammam in 9th century Baghdad, the capital of the Islamic Golden Age, where steam rises from marble pools and the air is perfumed with rosewater and jasmine. But the real revolution isn't in the luxurious surroundings. It's in the simple copper vessel sitting beside every toilet, filled with clean water and designed to transform human hygiene forever. The Islamic water-based cleaning system, known as istinja, wasn't just about getting clean. It was a complete reimagining of what bathroom hygiene could be. While Europeans were still fumbling with moss and Vikings were polishing seashells, Islamic scholars were developing sophisticated techniques that combined religious requirements with practical health benefits. The result was a cleaning method so thorough and hygienic that it put every other civilization's bathroom practices to shame. The process was elegantly simple yet remarkably effective. You would use your left hand to pour water while cleaning with specific motions that ensured complete hygiene. But this wasn't just splashing water around randomly. Islamic hygiene manuals detailed precise techniques, including the proper angle for water flow, the correct hand positions, and even the optimal water temperature for different seasons and climates. What made this system truly revolutionary was its accessibility. Unlike Chinese toilet paper, which was reserved for the wealthy, or Viking wool preparations that required extensive resources, water-based cleaning could be adapted to any economic situation. The wealthy used ornate copper and silver vessels with intricate designs, while common people made do with simple clay pots. But the fundamental hygiene benefits remained the same for everyone. The engineering behind Islamic bathroom facilities was centuries ahead of its time. Public bathhouses featured sophisticated plumbing systems that delivered fresh water to individual cleaning stations, while private homes had specially designed toilets with built-in water sources. These weren't crude arrangements. They were carefully planned installations that maximized hygiene while minimizing water waste. But here's where Islamic bathroom innovation gets really impressive. They didn't just focus on the cleaning process itself. Islamic physicians and scholars wrote detailed treatises on bathroom hygiene, covering everything from the health benefits of water-based cleaning to the proper etiquette for using shared facilities. These texts were so comprehensive that they influenced hygiene practices across the known world. The cultural impact was enormous. Islamic bathroom etiquette became so refined that it influenced social customs, architectural design, and even religious practices. The requirement for ritual cleanliness before prayer meant that every mosque needed sophisticated washing facilities, leading to innovations in public hygiene infrastructure that wouldn't be matched in Europe for centuries. Historians still argue whether the Islamic emphasis on water-based cleaning emerged from religious requirements or practical health considerations, but the results speak for themselves. Islamic cities consistently had lower rates of waterborne diseases compared to their European counterparts, and their bathroom facilities were marvels of engineering that impressed visitors from around the world. The social implications were profound. In Islamic society, proper bathroom hygiene wasn't just about personal cleanliness. It was about spiritual purity, social responsibility, and community health. This created a culture where bathroom facilities were maintained to the highest standards and where innovations in hygiene technology were actively encouraged and supported. The techniques developed in Islamic civilization spread along trade routes, influencing bathroom practices from Spain to India. Merchants and travelers would return home with stories of these miraculous water-based cleaning methods, though many cultures were slow to adopt practices that seemed foreign or impractical given their different social and religious contexts. While Islamic civilizations were perfecting their water systems, Native American tribes across the continent were turning agricultural waste into surprisingly effective bathroom solutions. And if you think modern recycling is impressive, wait until you hear how indigenous peoples transformed yesterday's dinner into today's toilet paper. You're standing in a thriving Iroquois village in pre-Columbian America, surrounded by towering stalks of corn that stretch as far as the eye can see. The harvest has just finished, and while European peasants would burn their agricultural waste or let it rot, these ingenious people are carefully selecting the softest corn husks and cobs, preparing them for a secondary purpose that would make modern environmentalists weep with joy. The Native American corn cob system was brilliantly practical. After harvesting corn for food, families would sort through the remaining cobs, selecting ones that were the right size, texture, and absorbency for bathroom use. The best cobs were smooth, well-dried, and free from sharp kernels that might cause discomfort. This wasn't random selection. Experienced tribal members could identify premium bathroom cobs with the same expertise that modern sommeliers use to choose wine. But corn cobs were just the beginning of Native American bathroom innovation. Different tribes developed specialized techniques based on their local environments and available materials. Plains tribes used buffalo grass and sage, which provided natural antiseptic properties along with softness. Woodland tribes favored mullein leaves and moss, while desert tribes became masters at using yucca fibers and smooth stones. The preparation process was incredibly sophisticated. Corn husks, for example, weren't just pulled off the cob and used immediately. They were carefully dried, sorted by size and texture, then stored in special containers that protected them from moisture and pests. Some tribes would even treat the husks with natural oils or herbs to make them softer and more pleasant to use. Here's where Native American bathroom practices get truly impressive. They understood seasonal variations and planned accordingly. Spring brought fresh young leaves that were perfect for bathroom use. Summer provided corn husks and other agricultural waste. Fall offered nuts and seed pods that could be processed into cleaning materials. And winter required careful management of stored supplies. The social aspects were fascinating too. In many tribes, preparing bathroom materials was a communal activity where knowledge was passed down through generations. Elders would teach younger members how to identify the best materials, when to harvest them, and how to prepare them for maximum effectiveness. This wasn't just practical education, it was cultural preservation wrapped in bathroom wisdom. Different tribes had remarkably different approaches based on their environments. Pacific Northwest tribes used cedar bark that had been processed into soft, absorbent strips. Southwest tribes developed techniques for using cactus fibers and desert plants. Eastern woodland tribes created elaborate systems for processing various leaves and plant materials into bathroom supplies. Historians still argue whether Native American bathroom practices were primarily driven by practical necessity, or if they reflected deeper cultural values about waste reduction and environmental harmony. What's clear is that these methods were incredibly effective and sustainable, creating zero waste while providing excellent hygiene results. The seasonal storage systems were marvels of prehistoric engineering. Tribes would construct special containers and storage areas designed to keep bathroom materials dry, clean, and easily accessible throughout the year. These storage systems were often more sophisticated than the food preservation methods used by contemporary European cultures. Native American bathroom innovation extended beyond just materials. Many tribes developed portable bathroom kits for hunting trips and long journeys, containing carefully selected materials that would last for weeks in the wilderness. These kits were designed with the same attention to detail that went into making weapons or tools, reflecting how seriously these cultures took personal hygiene and comfort. While Native Americans were mastering corn cob technology, ancient Japanese were developing bathroom tools so elegant and precise that they turned personal hygiene into an art form. Imagine if samurai sword-making techniques were applied to creating the perfect bathroom implement, and you'll start to understand Japanese bathroom innovation. You're kneeling in a traditional Japanese home in 8th century Kyoto. The tatami mats soft beneath your knees as you observe the family's morning routine. In the corner sits a small lacquered box containing what looks like miniature wooden swords, but these aren't weapons. They're chugi, carefully carved bamboo and wooden sticks that represent centuries of Japanese craftsmanship applied to the most intimate aspects of daily life. The Japanese approach to bathroom tools was fundamentally different from every other culture we've encountered. While Romans shared communal sponges and Vikings grabbed whatever shells they could find, the Japanese treated bathroom implements like precious instruments that deserved the same attention as tea ceremony utensils or calligraphy brushes. Each stick was individually crafted, personally owned, and maintained with obsessive care. The manufacturing process was incredibly sophisticated. Master craftsmen would select specific types of bamboo based on age, flexibility, and grain patterns. The bamboo had to be harvested at exactly the right time of year when the fibers were strongest but still pliable. Then came months of careful preparation, splitting, shaping, sanding, and polishing until each stick achieved the perfect balance of smoothness and functionality. But here's where Japanese bathroom innovation gets truly remarkable. They didn't just make one type of stick. Different designs were created for different purposes, seasons, and social situations. There were delicate sticks for daily use, more robust versions for travel, and even ceremonial sticks used in religious purification rituals. The wealthy commissioned custom sticks made from rare woods and decorated with intricate carvings. The technique for using these sticks was as refined as any martial art. Japanese hygiene manuals detailed proper grip, angle, and motion, treating bathroom practices with the same seriousness that other cultures reserved for sword fighting or archery. Children spent years learning the correct techniques, and mastery of proper bathroom stick usage was considered a mark of cultural sophistication. What made this system particularly ingenious was its reusability and hygiene. Unlike the shared Roman sponges, each person had their own personal set of sticks that were carefully cleaned and maintained after each use. The sticks were washed in hot water, dried in the sun, and stored in special containers that prevented contamination. Some families had elaborate cleaning rituals that involved multiple washing stages and aromatic treatments. The social implications were enormous. Your bathroom stick said everything about your social status, personal hygiene standards, and cultural refinement. Wealthy families would display their finest sticks in ornate cases, while poor families made do with simple bamboo versions. But even the humblest Japanese bathroom stick was crafted with more care than the bathroom tools used by European nobility. Historians still argue whether the Japanese stick system was influenced by Chinese practices or if it developed independently as part of Japan's unique approach to personal hygiene and craftsmanship. What's certain is that these tools were so effective that variations of the system persisted in rural Japan well into the 20th century. The maintenance rituals were as important as the tools themselves. Japanese families would have designated times for cleaning and maintaining their bathroom sticks, often involving the entire household in a process that combined practical hygiene with spiritual purification. These maintenance sessions became opportunities for teaching proper techniques and passing down family traditions. The portability was another crucial advantage. Japanese travelers could carry their personal bathroom sticks anywhere, ensuring consistent hygiene standards whether they were at home, visiting friends, or staying at inns. This created a level of personal hygiene reliability that was unmatched by any other culture's bathroom practices. While the Japanese were perfecting their bamboo artistry, ancient Greeks were taking a completely different approach to bathroom hygiene, one that involved smashing expensive pottery and using the sharp fragments to clean themselves, because apparently nothing says civilized society like wiping your bottom with broken dishes. You're wandering through the agora of ancient Athens, the marble columns gleaming in the Mediterranean sun, when you stumble upon a peculiar sight. Behind the public latrines, there's a pile of broken pottery shards, not garbage, but carefully selected ceramic fragments that represent one of history's most bizarre bathroom innovations. These are ostraca, and they're about to become intimately acquainted with some very private parts of Athenian anatomy. The Greek pottery shard system wasn't born from poverty or desperation. It was actually a luxury practice that emerged from their sophisticated ceramic culture. Greeks were master potters who created some of the most beautiful ceramics in human history. But they also understood that broken pottery could serve a practical secondary purpose. When expensive vases, plates, and cups broke, wealthy Greeks didn't just throw them away. They carefully selected the smoothest, most appropriately sized fragments for bathroom use. The selection process was incredibly meticulous. Not just any broken pottery would do, the shards had to be the right size, shape, and smoothness to avoid injury while still being effective for cleaning. Experienced Greek servants could identify perfect bathroom pottery by examining the ceramic's texture, thickness, and edge quality. The best shards came from high-quality pottery that had been fired at optimal temperatures, creating smooth, non-porous surfaces. But here's where Greek bathroom practices get really interesting. They developed specialized techniques for preparing pottery shards specifically for bathroom use. Broken pieces would be carefully sanded and polished to remove any sharp edges, then sorted by size and quality. The finest shards were reserved for wealthy citizens, while lower quality pieces were used by slaves and common people. The social implications were fascinating. In a culture that valued democracy and civic participation, your bathroom pottery became a status symbol that reflected your wealth and taste. Wealthy Athenians would use shards from expensive imported ceramics, while poor citizens made do with fragments from cheap local pottery. Some families even commissioned pottery specifically intended to be broken and used for bathroom purposes. What makes this practice even more remarkable is how it connected to Greek political culture. The same ostraca used for bathroom hygiene were also used in the democratic process of ostracism, where citizens would write the names of politicians they wanted to exile on pottery shards. Imagine the irony. The same piece of broken pottery that cleaned your bottom in the morning might be used to vote someone out of the city in the afternoon. The preparation and storage of bathroom pottery became a specialized household task. Greek homes had designated areas for storing sorted pottery shards, organized by size, quality, and intended use. Servants would spend hours preparing new batches of bathroom pottery, ensuring that the household never ran out of properly prepared ceramic cleaning materials. Historians still argue whether the Greek pottery shard system was more hygienic than other contemporary bathroom practices, given that ceramic surfaces could be thoroughly cleaned and reused, unlike organic materials that might harbor bacteria. Some scholars suggest that the non-porous nature of well-fired pottery made these shards surprisingly sanitary compared to alternatives like leaves or cloth. The technique for using pottery shards required considerable skill and practice. Greeks developed specific methods for holding and maneuvering the ceramic fragments to maximize cleaning effectiveness while minimizing the risk of cuts or abrasions. Children learn these techniques through careful instruction, and improper shard usage could result in painful injuries. The economic impact was significant too. The demand for bathroom pottery created a secondary market for broken ceramics, with specialized dealers who would buy damaged pottery from wealthy households and prepare it for bathroom use. This recycling system turned what would have been waste into a valuable commodity. While Greeks were polishing pottery shards to perfection, ancient India was developing a bathroom system so sophisticated that it combined medical science, botanical expertise, and spiritual purification into one revolutionary approach, and the secret ingredient grew right outside their doors. You're walking through a lush Indian garden in 5th century Kerala, the air heavy with monsoon humidity and the scent of jasmine. An Ayurvedic physician approaches, carrying a basket filled with carefully selected leaves that look nothing like the random vegetation medieval Europeans grabbed in desperation. These aren't just plants. They're precisely chosen medicinal materials that will clean, heal, and protect your body all at the same time. The Indian Ayurvedic leaf system was based on thousands of years of medical knowledge that treated bathroom hygiene as an extension of healthcare rather than just a necessary chore. Ayurvedic practitioners understood that the plants used for cleaning could either promote health or cause harm, so they developed elaborate classification systems for identifying the perfect bathroom botanicals based on their medicinal properties, seasonal availability, and individual body types. The most prized bathroom leaf was the banana leaf, not the fruit's peel, but the actual large, smooth leaves from the banana plant. These leaves were perfect for bathroom use because they were naturally antimicrobial, had a smooth texture that wouldn't cause irritation, and were large enough to provide thorough cleaning. But banana leaves were just the beginning of India's botanical bathroom pharmacy. Neem leaves became another cornerstone of Ayurvedic bathroom practices. These leaves contain powerful natural antibiotics and antifungal compounds that could prevent infections and promote healing. Indian families would carefully harvest neem leaves at specific times of day when their medicinal properties were strongest, then prepare them using techniques that maximize their therapeutic benefits while maintaining their cleaning effectiveness. But here's where Indian bathroom innovation gets truly impressive. They didn't just use leaves randomly. Ayurvedic texts detailed which plants to use for different seasons, body types, and health conditions. Someone with sensitive skin might use soft mango leaves, while a person prone to infections would be prescribed neem or turmeric-treated leaves. This wasn't folk medicine. It was sophisticated healthcare applied to bathroom hygiene. The preparation process was incredibly complex. Leaves had to be harvested at optimal times, cleaned using specific techniques, and sometimes treated with medicinal oils or herbal preparations. Some families would create elaborate leaf preparations that involved soaking selected plants in medicinal decoctions, then drying them in precise patterns that preserved their therapeutic properties. What made this system revolutionary was its integration with Ayurvedic medicine's understanding of body constitution and seasonal health. Different people required different bathroom plants based on their dasha, body type, the current season, their age, and their overall health condition. This personalized approach to bathroom hygiene was centuries ahead of anything practiced in other cultures. The social aspects were fascinating too. In Indian society, knowledge of proper bathroom plants was passed down through family lines, with elder women teaching younger generations how to identify, harvest, and prepare the best medicinal leaves. This knowledge was considered valuable family wisdom that could literally save lives by preventing infections and promoting health. Historians still argue whether the Ayurvedic bathroom leaf system was primarily medicinal or if the health benefits were secondary to practical cleaning needs. What's clear is that this approach was incredibly effective. Indian texts from this period describe remarkably low rates of bathroom-related infections and health problems compared to other contemporary civilizations. The seasonal variations were particularly sophisticated. Spring called for detoxifying leaves that would help the body eliminate winter toxins. Summer required cooling plants that would prevent heat-related health problems. Monsoon season demanded antimicrobial leaves that could fight the increased risk of infections, and winter needed warming plants that would support the body's natural defenses. The storage and preservation techniques were equally advanced. Indian families developed methods for drying, storing, and preserving bathroom leaves that would maintain their medicinal properties for months. These preservation systems were often more sophisticated than the food storage methods used by other cultures. while Indians were creating their botanical pharmacy of bathroom leaves, African civilizations were mastering the art of using the earth itself as their cleaning system. And before you wrinkle your nose in disgust, these desert survival techniques were so effective that they kept entire nomadic tribes healthy in some of the world's harshest environments. You're trudging across the Sahara with a Tuareg caravan, the sand burning beneath your feet and the sun beating down mercilessly from a cloudless sky. Water is precious. Every drop must be saved for drinking and survival. But nature still calls, and when it does, you're about to discover that the desert itself provides everything you need for surprisingly effective bathroom hygiene, if you know the ancient secrets of sand selection and stone preparation. The African sand and stone system wasn't primitive desperation. It was sophisticated desert technology developed over millennia by people who understood their environment better than any modern survivalist. Different types of sand had different cleaning properties, and experienced desert dwellers could identify the perfect bathroom sand by texture, mineral content, and grain size. The best sand was fine enough to provide thorough cleaning but coarse enough to remove waste effectively. But not just any sand would do. Desert peoples developed elaborate knowledge systems for identifying optimal bathroom sand based on its source, age, and composition. River sand was prized for its smoothness and cleanliness, while certain mountain sands contained minerals that provided natural antiseptic properties. Some tribes would travel considerable distances to collect premium bathroom sand, treating it like a valuable resource that could mean the difference between health and disease. The stone selection process was equally sophisticated. African desert peoples became experts at identifying smooth, non-porous stones that could be used for cleaning without causing injury. The best stones were flat, smooth river rocks that had been naturally polished by water flow over centuries. These stones were carefully collected, cleaned, and maintained as personal hygiene tools that could last for years. Here's where African bathroom innovation gets really impressive. They developed combination techniques that used sand and stones together in specific sequences for maximum effectiveness. The process involved initial cleaning with selected stones, followed by fine sand polishing, and finished with a final stone cleaning that left everything perfectly hygienic. This multi-step process was more thorough than many modern bathroom routines. The preparation rituals were fascinating. Before each use, the sand would be heated in the sun to kill any potential bacteria or parasites, while stones were cleaned using specific techniques that involved rubbing them with certain plants or minerals. These preparation methods ensured that natural materials remained as hygienic as possible in challenging desert conditions. Different African cultures developed remarkably different approaches based on their specific environments. Saharan peoples mastered sand techniques, while those living near rocky areas became experts in stone selection and preparation. Coastal African tribes combined sand and seashells, creating hybrid systems that drew from both desert and marine resources. The social aspects were crucial for survival. Knowledge of proper sand and stone selection was passed down through generations as essential survival information. Elders would teach younger tribe members how to identify safe materials, avoid dangerous substances, and maintain hygiene standards even in the harshest conditions. Getting this knowledge wrong could lead to infections that might kill you in environments where medical help was non-existent. Historians still argue whether African sand and stone techniques were purely practical survival methods or if they reflected deeper cultural understandings about the relationship between humans and their natural environment. What's clear is that these methods were effective enough to sustain nomadic populations in some of Earth's most challenging climates. The portability was another crucial advantage. Unlike other cultures that required specific plants or manufactured materials, African desert peoples could find suitable bathroom materials almost anywhere. This mobility was essential for nomadic lifestyles that required constant movement across vast territories where carrying unnecessary supplies could mean death. The seasonal adaptations were particularly clever. Different times of year required different approaches. Wet seasons called for techniques that dealt with muddy conditions, while dry seasons demanded methods for managing dust and extreme heat. These seasonal variations showed sophisticated understanding of how environmental conditions affected hygiene practices. While African desert peoples were perfecting their sand and stone techniques, European royalty were living in a completely different bathroom universe, one where silk, lace, and imported fabrics were considered perfectly reasonable things to use once and throw away. Because when you're the king, even your bathroom habits need to scream, "I'm fabulously wealthy." You're standing in the private chambers of Louis XIV at Versailles, watching in stunned amazement as servants prepare the Sun King's morning bathroom routine. Forget everything you know about medieval European bathroom struggles. This is luxury so extreme it makes modern five-star hotels look like gas station restrooms. The king's bathroom attendants are laying out squares of the finest Venetian lace, imported Chinese silk, and French velvet that cost more than most people's annual income. The European royal bathroom system was built on one simple principle. If you're wealthy enough to rule nations, you're wealthy enough to use the most expensive materials on earth for the most basic human functions. Royal families across Europe competed to see who could waste the most valuable fabrics on bathroom duties, turning personal hygiene into a display of economic power that would make modern billionaires blush. But this wasn't just random extravagance. Royal bathroom practices were carefully orchestrated performances designed to demonstrate absolute power and unlimited resources. When foreign dignitaries visited European courts, they were often invited to witness the monarch's bathroom routine as a way of showing off the kingdom's wealth. Imagine trying to negotiate a trade agreement after watching a king casually wipe himself with silk that's worth more than your entire wardrobe. The fabric selection process was incredibly sophisticated. Royal bathroom attendants became experts in textile quality, understanding which materials provided the best cleaning properties while maintaining the appropriate level of luxury. Italian silk was prized for its smoothness, French lace for its delicate texture, and Spanish velvet for its absorbency. Each fabric served a specific purpose in the royal bathroom hierarchy. Here's where European royal bathroom practices get truly absurd. They developed elaborate protocols for disposing of used luxury fabrics. These weren't just thrown away. They were ceremonially burned in special furnaces, buried in designated areas, or sometimes given to lower-ranking nobles as bizarre gifts. The idea of reusing bathroom fabrics was so horrifying to royal sensibilities that they created entire bureaucracies dedicated to luxury waste management. The economic impact was staggering. Royal households spent fortunes on bathroom fabrics. Some estimates suggest that European monarchs spent more on bathroom materials than entire kingdoms spent on military equipment. This created specialized industries dedicated to producing luxury bathroom textiles, with master craftsmen whose sole job was creating fabrics destined for the most intimate royal encounters. Different royal families developed signature bathroom styles that reflected their kingdom's cultural values and economic priorities. French royalty favored elaborate lace and silk combinations. English monarchs preferred imported cotton and linen blends, while Spanish kings opted for rich velvets and brocades. These preferences became matters of international diplomacy, with kingdoms competing to produce the most impressive royal bathroom fabrics. The social implications were enormous. Your access to luxury bathroom fabrics became a precise indicator of your position in the royal hierarchy. The king used the finest materials, while princes and princesses got slightly lower quality options, and minor nobles made do with expensive but not quite royal-grade fabrics. This created an entire social system based on bathroom luxury levels. Historians still argue whether royal bathroom extravagance was primarily about demonstrating power, or if European monarchs genuinely believed that their divine right to rule extended to using the world's most expensive toilet paper. What's certain is that these practices consumed enormous resources that could have fed entire populations. The preparation rituals were as elaborate as religious ceremonies. Royal bathroom fabrics were blessed by court chaplains, perfumed with rare oils, and sometimes embroidered with royal crests or religious symbols. The irony wasn't lost on palace servants. The same fabrics that took months to create and cost fortunes to purchase would be destroyed in seconds during the most mundane human activity imaginable. While European royalty were burning silk fortunes in their bathroom furnaces, colonial Americans were developing a uniquely practical approach to hygiene that combined frontier ingenuity with whatever materials they could scrounge from their harsh new environment. And if you think modern recycling is impressive, wait until you hear how colonists turned last year's corn harvest and old reading material into this year's bathroom essentials. You're standing in a one-room log cabin in 1750s Pennsylvania, the wind howling through gaps in the chinked walls as winter settles over the frontier. There's no silk, no lace, and definitely no servants preparing luxury bathroom materials. What you do have is a pile of dried corn husks that your family spent months preparing, and a stack of old almanacs that have served their informational purpose and are now destined for a much more intimate role in your daily routine. The colonial American corn husk system was born from pure necessity but refined through generations of frontier experience. Remember those Native American corn cob techniques we discussed earlier? Colonial settlers learned these methods from indigenous peoples, then adapted them to fit their own agricultural practices and European sensibilities. The result was a hybrid bathroom system that combined old-world practicality with new-world resourcefulness. But colonial corn husk preparation was far more sophisticated than just grabbing whatever husks were lying around. Families would carefully select the softest, most pliable husks during harvest time, then spend weeks preparing them for bathroom use. The husks had to be cleaned, dried at exactly the right temperature, and stored in ways that prevented mold, insects, and moisture damage during the long winter months. The process started in late summer when corn was harvested for food. Colonial women would sort through hundreds of husks, selecting only the finest specimens for bathroom use. These premium husks were then cleaned in multiple stages, first to remove any remaining corn silk, then washed in hot water to eliminate dirt and debris, and finally dried in specific patterns that preserved their softness while preventing decay. Here's where colonial bathroom innovation gets really clever. They developed storage systems that could preserve corn husks for an entire year. Special containers were constructed with ventilation systems that prevented moisture buildup while protecting the husks from rodents and insects. Some families built dedicated corn husk storage rooms that were more sophisticated than their food preservation systems. But corn husks were just one part of the colonial bathroom arsenal. When paper became more available in the 18th century, colonists discovered that old almanacs, newspapers, and books could serve double duty as reading material and bathroom supplies. The famous Farmer's Almanac wasn't just hung in outhouses for entertainment. It was specifically designed to be used as toilet paper once its informational value expired. The paper selection process was surprisingly discriminating. Not all paper was suitable for bathroom use. Some inks were toxic, certain paper types were too rough or absorbent, and religious texts were generally considered inappropriate for such mundane purposes. Colonial families developed expertise in identifying the best paper for bathroom use, often saving specific publications throughout the year for this secondary purpose. What made the colonial system particularly ingenious was its seasonal adaptability. Summer brought fresh corn husks and abundant plant materials. Fall provided the year's supply of dried agricultural waste. Winter required careful management of stored materials, and spring offered new plant growth that could supplement dwindling supplies. This seasonal cycle required careful planning and resource management that many families treated as seriously as food preservation. The social aspects were fascinating too. Preparing bathroom materials became a family activity that brought multiple generations together for practical education. Children learned to identify the best corn husks, how to prepare them properly, and how to manage seasonal supplies. This knowledge was considered essential frontier survival information that could literally mean the difference between comfort and misery during harsh winters. Historians still argue whether colonial bathroom practices were primarily influenced by Native American techniques or European traditions, but the evidence suggests a unique fusion that created something entirely new. Colonial Americans took the best ideas from both cultures and adapted them to their specific environmental and economic circumstances. While colonial Americans were perfecting their almanac and corn husk combinations, Victorian society was about to revolutionize bathroom practices forever with an innovation that would make all previous methods seem quaint: the mass-produced catalog that served double duty as both shopping guide and the most widely distributed toilet paper in human history. You're sitting in a Victorian outhouse in 1890s America, the wooden seat polished smooth by decades of use, when you reach for what has become the standard bathroom reading material of the era. It's not a book or newspaper, it's the latest Sears, Roebuck and Company catalog, thick with hundreds of pages showcasing everything from farm equipment to ladies' corsets. But this catalog isn't just for browsing, it's about to become intimately involved in your personal hygiene routine. The Victorian catalog system emerged from a perfect storm of technological and social changes. The Industrial Revolution had made mass printing affordable, rural mail delivery was expanding across America, and companies like Sears were flooding the country with thick catalogs filled with consumer goods. These catalogs were designed to last for months, but once their shopping usefulness expired, thrifty Victorian families discovered they made excellent toilet paper. But not all catalog pages were created equal for bathroom use. Victorian families developed sophisticated knowledge about which sections provided the best cleaning experience. The thin, glossy pages featuring jewelry and fine goods were generally avoided because they were too slippery and non-absorbent. The thicker pages showcasing farm equipment and household goods were preferred for their superior texture and absorbency. The preparation process was surprisingly elaborate. Victorian households would carefully remove staples and binding materials from expired catalogs, then sort the pages by quality and suitability for bathroom use. The best pages were reserved for family members, while lower quality sections might be relegated to hired help or emergency situations. Some families even developed page rating systems that would make modern product reviewers proud. Here's where Victorian bathroom innovation gets really interesting. The catalog companies actually began designing their publications with secondary bathroom use in mind. Sears and Montgomery Ward started using specific paper types and inks that were more suitable for personal hygiene, while avoiding materials that might cause irritation or health problems. This was probably the first time in history that toilet paper manufacturers and catalog publishers were essentially the same industry. The social implications were enormous. Your choice of catalog said everything about your family's shopping preferences, economic status, and cultural sophistication. Wealthy families might use expensive specialty catalogs with higher quality paper, while working-class households made do with basic Sears catalogs. The type of catalog hanging in your outhouse became a subtle indicator of social class. What made this system particularly clever was its built-in obsolescence. Unlike corn husks or fabric that required preparation and storage, catalogs arrived regularly through the mail system and automatically became available for bathroom use once their commercial purpose expired. This created a renewable supply of bathroom materials that required no preparation, storage, or maintenance. The economic impact was significant too. Catalog companies realized that bathroom use actually increased their distribution and brand recognition. Families who might not normally request catalogs would specifically ask for them because of their secondary bathroom value. This created a unique marketing situation where companies were essentially paying to have their advertisements placed in the most private spaces of American homes. Victorian women became experts at managing catalog supplies, timing orders to ensure continuous availability while avoiding waste. They developed elaborate systems for rotating catalogs, ensuring that bathroom supplies remained fresh while maximizing the useful life of each publication. This household management skill was considered as important as managing food supplies or seasonal clothing. Historians still argue whether the Victorian catalog system was a planned innovation or an accidental discovery that became widespread through practical necessity. What's clear is that this system was so effective that it dominated American bathroom practices for decades, creating the foundation for modern toilet paper marketing and distribution systems. The quality control became increasingly sophisticated as companies competed for bathroom market share. Catalog publishers began testing their paper for bathroom suitability, adjusting ink formulations to prevent irritation, and even conducting consumer surveys about bathroom preferences, though these surveys were conducted with considerably more discretion than modern market research. While Victorian families were perfecting their catalog rotation systems, the world was about to witness the birth of something that would make all previous bathroom innovations seem like ancient history: the evolution of modern toilet paper from luxury curiosity to pandemic hoarding essential. And trust me, this journey involves more corporate espionage, marketing genius, and social revolution than you could possibly imagine. You're standing in a New York City pharmacy in 1857, watching as customers nervously approach the counter to purchase something called Gaiety's medicated paper, the world's first commercially produced toilet paper. But here's the catch. Buying this revolutionary product requires the same level of discretion as purchasing questionable medical remedies, because admitting you need special paper for bathroom purposes is considered deeply embarrassing in polite society. Joseph Gaiety's toilet paper wasn't just a bathroom innovation. It was a marketing revolution that had to overcome centuries of cultural taboos about discussing bodily functions in public. His medicated paper was infused with aloe and sold in packages that promised to cure hemorrhoids while providing unprecedented bathroom luxury. But convincing Victorian Americans to pay for something they'd been getting free from catalogs required advertising genius that would make modern marketers weep with envy. The early toilet paper industry faced a problem that no other business had ever encountered. How do you advertise a product that nobody wants to admit they use? Gaiety's solution was brilliant. He marketed toilet paper as a medical necessity rather than a luxury convenience. His advertisements appeared in medical journals and pharmacy publications, positioning toilet paper as a health product prescribed by doctors rather than a consumer good purchased by embarrassed customers. But Gaiety's medicated paper was just the beginning. The Scott Paper Company revolutionized the industry in the 1890s by creating the first perforated toilet paper rolls, solving the practical problem of how much paper to use while creating the familiar bathroom experience we know today. Their innovation wasn't just about convenience. It was about standardizing bathroom practices across an entire civilization. Here's where modern toilet paper evolution gets really fascinating. The industry had to simultaneously create demand for their product while educating consumers about proper usage techniques. Early toilet paper advertisements included detailed instructions about how to use perforated rolls, how much paper was appropriate for different situations, and even proper disposal methods. Imagine needing a user manual for toilet paper. The social transformation was enormous. Within a few decades, toilet paper went from embarrassing medical curiosity to essential household item that defined modern civilization. Families who couldn't afford toilet paper were considered impoverished, while households with multiple varieties were seen as sophisticated and health-conscious. The bathroom paper industry had successfully created a new category of social necessity. World War II created the first toilet paper shortage crisis, as paper rationing forced Americans to rediscover some of the historical bathroom methods we've been exploring. Families hoarded toilet paper like precious commodities, traded rolls like currency, and developed elaborate conservation techniques that their grandparents would have recognized from the catalog era. The post-war boom transformed toilet paper from basic necessity into luxury lifestyle product. Companies began producing colored toilet paper, scented varieties, and multiply options that turned bathroom visits into sensory experiences. The 1970s brought us toilet paper so luxurious that it was advertised like fine wine, with families choosing bathroom paper based on softness ratings and absorbency tests. But nothing prepared the world for the great toilet paper panic of 2020, when a global pandemic turned bathroom paper into the most hoarded commodity on Earth. Suddenly, people who had never thought twice about toilet paper availability were fighting in grocery store aisles over packages of 2-ply, creating shortages that forced millions to rediscover historical bathroom alternatives their ancestors had used for millennia. Historians still argue whether modern toilet paper represents genuine progress, or if we've simply created an artificial dependency on a product that previous civilizations managed without for thousands of years. What's certain is that toilet paper has become so embedded in modern life that imagining civilization without it seems impossible. The technology continues evolving, with smart toilets, bidets, and eco-friendly alternatives challenging toilet paper's dominance in bathroom culture. We've come full circle, from ancient water-based cleaning systems to modern high-tech solutions that make toilet paper seem almost primitive. As we drift toward the end of our journey through humanity's most intimate innovations, let yourself settle deeper into comfort, knowing that every bathroom visit you'll ever take connects you to thousands of years of human ingenuity and adaptation. From Roman citizens sharing their communal sponges to Egyptian nobles applying crocodile dung deodorant, from medieval peasants gathering precious moss to Chinese emperors enjoying the world's first toilet paper, each civilization found ways to maintain dignity and health using whatever resources their world provided. Think about the Viking warriors carefully preparing their wool bundles before sailing into unknown waters, the Islamic scholars developing water-based systems that promoted both physical and spiritual cleanliness, the Native Americans transforming agricultural waste into sustainable hygiene solutions. Consider the Japanese craftsmen who turned bathroom tools into works of art, the Greeks who recycled their finest pottery into cleaning implements, the Indians who created medicinal bathroom botanicals that healed while they cleaned. Picture those African desert peoples mastering the earth itself as their hygiene system, the European royalty burning silk fortunes in displays of absolute power, the colonial Americans adapting and surviving with corn husks and almanacs, the Victorians discovering that shopping catalogs could serve life's most basic needs. Each solution reflected not just practical necessity, but cultural values, available resources, and human creativity applied to universal challenges. As your breathing slows and your thoughts begin to drift, remember that you're part of this continuing story of human adaptation and innovation. Tomorrow's bathroom visit will connect you to Roman engineers, Chinese papermakers, Islamic physicians, and countless generations who faced the same basic human needs with whatever tools their world provided. Rest now, knowing that humanity's greatest innovations often emerge from our most humble necessities, and that comfort, dignity, and cleanliness have always been worth pursuing, no matter what materials were available. Sweet dreams, and may your bathroom experiences always be blessed with the luxury of choice that our ancestors could never have imagined.